Okay, so today we're going to talk about your favorite topic by popular request, sex. Okay, so like I said, I wasn't born as a nun, so I have some experience in this area. They say that sexual desire is our strongest desire, our strongest attachment, because it has all of the sense objects in it. It has sight and sound and smell and taste and touch. You know, chocolate cake is just like, you know, doesn't have everything, but sex has everything. And also the mental, you know, what happens to the mind, you know, in terms of sexual desire. And so it's said to be the strongest desire that we have. And so it's for that reason that the monastics have a celibacy vow. Because, you know, if you're going to attain liberation, then you want to free yourself of desire. And so if that's a strong desire that's going to take you in the way against liberation, then you keep celibate. Yeah. So it's a way of avoiding the object that incites the desire. The idea being that you then work with your mind so that your mind doesn't become attached to the object of desire. So it's not a thing of rejecting the person that you're attracted to, so whether you're gay or whether you're straight or, you know, whatever somebody is, it's not a question of rejecting the person and the other person is bad, but it's a thing of, you know, my mind goes out of control, so I have to keep some distance. Okay? Well, where do we start with this? Because it's a very confusing topic, I think, for young people, especially since our society is so loaded with sexual images and sexual discussion, and you know, our society it's just gone really berserky in this way. I mean, when you see that number of junk email you get about this, and then the movies and the advertising and everything is just sex, 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 as if it were the highest pleasure, the most extravagant, blissful thing that you could ever experience. So there's this big hoopla made about sex, you know. And it's true, it does feel good, but is it all that our society makes it out to be? Yeah? I mean, when you think of everything, all the brainwashing and propaganda that you've heard about sex, has your own experience said that it's as good as the media makes it out to be? Or is, you know, the media and everything just exaggerating everything? Okay. There's so much to say here. Where do you want me to start? Yeah? What? Should we just, well, let's start with seeing people as sexual objects, because that's a good part of it, isn't it? You know, because actually the movies and everything portray it as, you know, you really care about the person. Yeah. And, but the reality is, it's very interesting. There was one Star Trek. I very seldom watch Star Trek. I've only watched it like 2 times or something. And one of the times I watched it, they had one where one of the characters, I can't remember all the characters' names, fell in love with somebody, okay? But then that person, their brain, or no, their mind was, you know, kind of in the box in a brain, and it was time, because they were from another planet, so it was time for them to leave their body. So their mind got taken out and put into the body of the same sex as the person who had fallen in love with him, you know? And so then this guy was going, well, I thought I loved you, but, you know, I'm not sexually attracted to you anymore. What do I do with this? Yeah, it was a very, very interesting show because it makes you think, you know, if the person looked different, would you still feel the same way about them? As much as you say, it's not your body that I'm interested in, it's your mind, it's your heart, I love you so much. You know, if they changed gender, would you still feel that same way? If they were all of a sudden 80 years old, you know, this really handsome guy, then all of a sudden he's there, you know, with his cane, and he's drooping and kind of drooling, and gray hair, if he has any hair left, and all flabby, and, you know, you think he's sexy then? I mean, you're going to have the same feeling. You know, similarly, you're going to look at some woman and go, and imagine her as 80 years old, and then think, you know, am I still going to feel the same way? It's very clear, isn't it, you know, that our mind, we have a way, we confuse sex and affection. You know, those two things are not very clear in our minds at all. And we don't have very clear examples in society of people who are clear about the difference between sex and affection. And so that's why I think especially, you know, when you're young and your hormones are going crazy, yeah, and you want affection, yeah, and often you're not getting along with your parents so well. So then you jump in bed with somebody because sex and affection are very, very confused. And if somebody's going to pay attention to me, give me, you know, some kind of strokes and that, then maybe I'm loved. But, you know, we really confuse sex and affection very, very much. And it's not just teenagers that do, adults do too. You know, and then the whole thing of self-worth gets mixed in there. You know, if somebody's attracted to me, then I'm worthwhile, and if they're not attracted to me, then I'm not worthwhile. And attracting somebody, the messages we get from society are the way to attract somebody is how you look. You know, so whether you're a guy or whether you're a woman, the way to attract somebody is how you look. And this is especially the case for women. And I really saw, you know, once I got into the Dharma, how harmful the media is, especially for young women. Because we are fed constantly this thing that you are only worthwhile if somebody is attracted to you. You know, fine, have a career, you know, women's lib, and have a career, and don't go, you know, break through the glass ceiling and do all these things, but bottom line is you've got to be sexy. You know, it's not sufficient to be competent at your job. It's not sufficient to be intelligent as a woman. Bottom line is you've got to be sexy. And that's what proves your worth. And it's a bunch of baloney. You know, and this is what young women are taught from the time they're very, very young, and what little girls see all the time. You know, this is what makes you worthwhile as a human being.